Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kautsar Rahman. So, in this show, I'll be talking about my life. And my specialties as well, which is essentially hosting and how I became interested in the world of hosting. So, hosting, what does it actually mean? It means to pretty much control the crowd, I guess you could say, to interact with them, to make things interesting within an environment, such as an event, such as a wedding. There's endless options that you could potentially talk about in this sense. And hosting is a very lucrative and a very niche thing to do as well. But if you're able to do it well, boy, you will be able to do it really, really well. So my introduction to the world of hosting was roughly at around 2012, if I'm not mistaken, back in Iowa State University in America. I started off as being a host at the MCN, Malaysian Cultural Night, and that was a huge event, which is pretty interesting because my first event happened to be a huge event. How did I even get into it? That's a story that I'm going to tell another time because we don't have time to talk through the entire process in this episode. But it was nerve-wracking. For those who just started out in the hosting industry, I'm pretty sure you would understand what I mean when I say that the first show you do will always be the most nerve-wracking. But at the same time, it's where you get most of your adrenaline. That's why most people, especially if you talk to seasoned hosters and those who've done it for so long, all of them will say the same thing, which is they miss their first event because no show afterwards will ever bring you to that same state of level of mentality where the adrenaline is rushing at that point. So what can I say? What is an advice I can actually give to people who just started out hosting? Well, the most important one is just be yourself. If people are able to like you for being yourself, there's no need for you to change your characteristics. There's no need for you to slightly adjust your personality to a different state. They would want you for who you are. This is one of the most underrated tips that I could give to anyone. No one really understands the importance of it because every time you go into a hosting environment, people always say you need to change into a different personality, you need to change into a different attitude and stuff like that. Yeah, you can, but at the same time, include your own flair to it. If you don't have flair, if you don't include your own flair, your own identity into a hosting gig, then what's the point of doing it? You're out there to bring yourself out, to expose yourself. And this journey has been a mesmerizing one as well. Another tip that I could give to another person is do not stick to the script. What I mean by that is you don't need to stick 100% to the script. Yes, it's good to have an idea of what you're going to talk about, maybe a piece of paper, a cue card stating what you should be talking at that certain time. But at the end of the day, do not fully rely on it because once you forget the script, what are you going to talk about? You know what I mean? You might accidentally misplace the script. You might be like, oh, where am I now? You need to be quick on your feet constantly. And that's the intense world of hosting. And I would, if you feel like you want to give hosting a shot, by all means, do so. Because trust me when I say this, you'll discover a lot more about yourself when you join the hosting industry. I didn't have the confidence back then to go into this industry. I felt like I didn't have the characteristic or personality or the outspokenness of some hosting individuals. It was a shocking revelation for me. If anything, the minute I entered this hosting industry, I felt like my self-confidence has increased and I'm able to speak more effectively to the public, like you guys. I feel more comfortable around telling people my stories. I felt more comfortable talking to people about certain things that might be considered taboo. And that's a skill that not many people have. It's not a skill that many people appreciate, especially in society where we focus so much on sticking to the book, think about what the textbook says to you. It is important to maintain that spark of creativity, to maintain that need and burning desire to improve yourself, both mentally, physically, and creatively as well. So it's going to be a rough journey. However, it is going to be a rough journey. You're going to have some events that didn't end up well. Like, for example, a perfect example for it would be that time that I did Teacher's Day for Taylor's University. there was absolutely no one that showed up to the event. And I felt like I was just talking to a bunch of ghost crowd at that point. I was just behaving myself, and I just tried to keep the so-called crowd interested to whatever it is I wanted to say. And it felt weird. It did bring me down pretty hard as well, because I felt like, why do I need to continue hosting if there's going to be no need for me to host to begin with? But persevere. Perseverance is the most important thing as well. Despite all the failures that you've been through, despite every single hiccup you had, you still try to finish strong. And that's important, that you need to literally burn it into your heart to not be so let down, to not be so affected by the failures that you've had, and constantly persevere. So yes, that's my story. My name is Kautsar Rahman again, and I hope to see you in the next episode of 0% Media. Thank you and goodbye.